Hi, my name is Asif, and today we'll be talking about two very important types of reading, IELTS reading questions. Number one is the true, false, not given type of questions, and the second is the MCQ type of questions or answering the questions, which is short questions. Now, um, the reason I have chosen these two kinds of questions is because I would say in IELTS reading, these two can be one of the most tricky or the trickiest type of questions that you can find. True, false, not given, candidates often have trouble identifying true, false, not given type of questions, the answers, and also um, for MCQ type of questions, multiple choice questions. Now, the trick to identifying the answers for these two type of questions is primarily understanding exactly what the question means, meaning you identify keywords as I have identified here, and I'll explain why I have done this or how I have done these, and also at the same time to be able to locate and understand exactly what is being said. Now there are some aspects, all of these aspects will go over these aspects one by one. So let's get started. Now, as I mentioned, we are going to start with true, false, not given questions type first. Now, one of the primary problems that students generally tend to face in these kind of questions, in this particular question, is the difference between false and not given. If you look closely here, it says that if the statement contradicts the information, we tend to give it false. But if there is no particular information given about that particular question or topic, then we write not given. Although this is the general idea that that IELTS gives us, often students or candidates tend to have a bit of a problem or confusion as to whether it's false or not given. Now, what I generally like to suggest is that when you go to answer a certain question, you try to find out whether it's true or whether it's false. If you can prove neither, in that case, you would say it's not given. That's a much more straightforward way, or I would say a less complicated way of going about doing this particular question type. So, true, if the statement agrees with the information. So, the question that we have here, if the question or the statement or the topic exactly matches the information that is given in the particular text, then we say it's true. However, the way we choose or the way we say that it's false is if there is a clear point of contention. So for example, for true, if it says well, let's say the text is saying that the shirt is blue, and if the question says the shirt is black, then we say the answer is false, because there is a clear point of contention that the shirt is blue in the text, but the question says it's black, so there is a clear point of contention. We know that the shirt is blue, hence we can prove that it's false. But not given is there is no information given about that particular shirt, right? So basically that's the difference between false and not given. In false, you can prove what is the opposite or what is the contradiction to the question, but for not given, you cannot prove either it's right, whether it's right or whether it's wrong. I mean, whether it's true or whether it's false. So that is basically the difference between false and not given. However, once we get into more practice, we can try and solve this particular type of issues. We'll come across these issues and we'll try and solve these out. Now, for the MCQs, it's fairly simple, but again, the technique is kind of the same, which is you basically identify the keyword, what exactly is the question looking for, and then second is that you identify exactly where, or you locate exactly where the answer is, and then you read that section and try to find out the answer. Now, for that, as you can see, I have underlined some keywords right here, and using these keywords we'll go straight into the passage and we'll try and find out where is the answer, or where the answer can be. Now, so the first question for true, false and not given is chronobiology is the study of how living things have evolved over time. Now remember, this passage is about making time for science. So making time for science, so most likely it's going to talk about time, or it's going to talk about, you know, having time or time related something, right? So that's the heading. And now let's go back to the question and try to find out the answer. Now it says chronobiology is the study of how living things have evolved over time. Now the keywords that I have chosen here is chronobiology and evolved. Now I have chosen the word chronobiology is because it's significantly, let's say, unique, and I am going to find it much quicker when I scan the particular text. So it's going to be much more easier for me to locate the general vicinity of the answer. Now, so chronobiology, let's go and see where we can find chronobiology. Now, as you can see, there is no, I don't particularly see the word chronobiology. It says chronobiological patterns, but it doesn't really talk about chronobiology. Now, if I go right at the beginning, I can see chronobiology might sound a little futuristic. Now, of course, when I read this, I can find a particular vicinity. So I think this is where my answer might be. So let's read this paragraph. So it says, chronobiology might sound a little futuristic, like something from a science fiction novel perhaps, but it's actually a field of study that concerns one of the oldest processes of life on this planet has ever known. Short-term rhythms of time and their effects on flora and fauna. So short-term rhythms of time and their effect on flora and fauna. Now, the question asked us, or the question informed us that the question says chronobiology is about the long-term effects of evolving or evolution, but here we see it is short-term, not long-term. So that is a clear contention, that's the point of contention here. So as the question says, it is evolved over time. So this over time means it's long term. Now the text says short time, so short term effect. So we can clearly see the difference, the contradiction in the question, between the question and the text. So we can say that the answer for question number 1 is false. All right, so here the answer is false. All right, now let's go to the second question. The rise and fall of sea levels affects how sea creatures behave. Now again, I have underlined some keywords right here. So the way we underline keywords is you choose a particular word or words or phrases which are unique and which can be easy to find, right? You don't have to look at it very deeply, so that you can identify very quickly. You can identify the general location while skimming. So rise and fall sea levels and how sea creatures affect or sea creatures behave. Now, I have chosen rise and fall, sea levels, and behave. So, rise and fall of sea levels. So, what is the rise and fall of sea levels? Now, rise and fall of sea levels can be tides. It can be related to the moon. So we are looking for, now of course, the questions are paraphrased. So we have to look for synonyms which are close, for example, evolved over time, so long and short term, so long term, short term, like that. So here, rise and fall of sea levels, we can maybe look for tides, we can look for tidal, we can look for effects of sun and the moon, something like that. So let's go over to the top. Now, the first answer, I have already gotten the first answer right here in the last line of the first paragraph. So I know I will generally, most of the time, I will not find the answer right here. So the next question, the question number 2, I'm going to find the answer in the next or the following paragraph. So you see, this is the sequence, so the sequential order of answering. So you see, in most of the IELTS reading questions, there is a sequence. The sequence is it is always going to be subsequently the answers you'll find in a subsequent order. So for example, if you find one particular answer here, most likely you're going to get the answer in the next paragraph or the next line, but it's never going to go up, at least for one set of questions. So if so because I have found the answer right here, I am not going to go on top. I'll rather go down and find out the answers there. So let's read the next paragraph. So marine life, I immediately see marine life. So I know my answers or my answer is close by. So remember, the question said something about sea creatures. So sea creatures, this is a direct synonym of sea creatures. So sea creatures, marine life. So this can take many forms. Marine life, for example, is influenced by tidal patterns, So tidal patterns, rise and fall of the sea levels. Animals tend to be active or inactive depending on the position of the sun and the moon. So our question, let's go back to our question quickly. Our question says the rise and fall of sea level affects how sea creatures behave, and the text also says that marine life is affected by or influenced by the tidal waves. So tides, rise and fall of the sea level, affect the marine life. So again, the question and the text is similar here. So what the question says and what the text says is the same. So here we can say that this is true. So I hope that you're kind of getting the way we do true and false questions. So let's move on to the questions, subsequent questions, and see if this helps us in the future questions as well. Now, most animals are active during the daytime. Now, here I have underlined most, active, and daytime. So we are looking for active and then daytime and most animals. So because we have gotten the answer in the first or the second line, we can read from below that. Now, numerous creatures, humans included, are largely diurnal. That is, they like to come out during the hours of sunlight. Nocturnal animals, such as the bats, possums, prefer to forage by night. A third group are known as whatever. Let's not go to the pronunciations. They thrive in the low light of dawn and dusk and remain inactive at other hours. So we don't really find anything related to the daytime, anything related to daytime and animals. Even here, so we see it talks about humans, but not most animals. So when you're reading a certain when you're reading about a certain text, it's highly unlikely that the answer is going to be very far down, right? So you can read one or two paragraphs, but if you don't find your answers within the particular one or two paragraphs, you could be almost 98% sure that the answer is not given. So here I'm not particularly getting any information about animals being active during the daytime. Neither does this passage talk about anything about being active during the daytime. Yes, it does describe about night people, example, how they describe it's hard to operate during the morning. Also, it talks about sleeping at night and waking during the day. Its cycle involves many other factors, but it doesn't really talk about most animals are active during the daytime. So I didn't find any information related to this particular question. So it would be safe to say that the answer for this is not given. So there you go. So not given. Now let's go to the fourth one. Circadian rhythms identify how we do different things on different days. So I have underlined circadian rhythms, how we do different things on different days. Let's go to the passage now. Now, as you know, the previous question was the answer was not given, and before that we got the answer right here. So we should start reading from here if possible, because the answer was not given, there is no information given, so we can start from here to look for our answers. Now here it was mainly talking about the different times or the different let's say part of the day when the animals generally tend to be active. Now so probably we are not going to get our answers there, but now let's go to the next paragraph and see if we can find some answers here. So immediately we can find circadian rhythm right here, which is one of our keywords. So circadian rhythm, and now let's read this particular paragraph and then we can identify the answer. Now this is the complete cycle of our bodies are naturally geared to undergo within the passage of a 24-hour day. Aside from sleeping at night and waking during the day, each cycle involves many other factors such as changes in blood pressure and body temperature. Not everyone has an identical circadian rhythm. Night people, for example, often describe how they find it very hard to operate during the morning but become alert and focused by evening. This is a benign variation with circadian rhythms known as chronotype. So here I can find something called benign. Now let's look at the questions again. The question says, circadian rhythms, how we do things on different days. So the whole paragraph doesn't really talk about doing things on different days. Rather, this is a benign variation within circadian rhythm. So it doesn't really make any changes, and also it doesn't really define. Let's say it doesn't really define what we do on different days, but rather it defines what we do on each part of the day. So for example, you can see that this is the complete cycle of our bodies that naturally geared to undergo within the cycle of our bodies that are naturally geared to undergo within the passage of a time of 24 hours a day. Now so you see that this is something that each cycle many other factors. So now the thing is what the basic of this particular question means is that you do everything every day differently. This is what circadian rhythm does, but actually it doesn't. It says that there is no particular change. It is a benign change. There is no particular order that circadian rhythm will dictate that, okay, so one day you do something and the other day you're going to do something else. Rather, this is a very benign change, and basically it's remaining the same. So you see that our bodies are naturally geared to undergo within the passage of 24 hours. So it is not defining what we are doing on a 24-hour basis, or it is not defining what we do every single day. It is basically, it is just a normal rhythm that we have. Well, different people have different rhythms, but it is not defining what we do on different days. So here the answer is false. Sometimes these type of questions can get a bit tricky to explain, but that's the closest that we can get. Now, number 5, a night person can still have a healthy circadian rhythm. So we read something about benign. So this is a benign variation within circadian rhythms known as chronotype. Now, the night people and let's say the day people. So if we talk about the night people, which is one of the keywords that we had underlined there, says, for example, how often describe how they find it very hard to operate during the morning, but become alert and focused by evening. Now, this is a benign variation. The difference between people who work in the day, or the day people, and the night people is very benign, which is basically it's harmful, and it's very little. The difference is very little. So here it says a night person can still have a healthy circadian rhythm, and that is actually true, because there is no difference, and there is no particular harm here. So definitely we can say that it's true. Now, the other way that you can look at it is the word healthy. So if you go back to the word benign, you see the word benign basically means not harmful. So not harmful and healthy, we can kind of like combine the meaning of these two words, or we can kind of like bring a connection between these two words, and we can say that the answer is true. All right, now the next one. The next one says, new therapists can permanently change circadian rhythms without causing harm. Now here I have underlined new therapies, permanently change, and here we have harm. So causing harm or harm, doesn't really matter how much you mark here. So let's go back to the passage again. And here, so we got the last answer in the last line of the paragraph. Now we're going to the next paragraph immediately. Now, scientists have limited abilities to create durable modifications of chronobiological demands. Recent therapeutic developments for humans, such as artificial light machines and melatonin administration, can reset our circadian rhythms, for example, but our bodies can tell the difference, and health suffers. There you go. So up till this line, what we understood, or what we could get, is that scientists are able to change the circadian rhythm, or at least they're able to reset the circadian rhythm. The body can identify that. The body can find out if the circadian rhythm has been like changed in or affected in any way. And if that happens, then the health suffers, right? And when we reach these natural rhythms for extended period of time, so if this is done for a long period of time, then the health suffers. Question says, permanently change circadian rhythms without causing harm. Now, there is it can change, yes, of course it can change, but without causing harm. Now, the issue here is that it says without, but the text says it does cause harm. So there is the point of contention there. So question says it doesn't cause harm, text says it does cause harm. So here, because there is a contention here, we can say the answer is false. Now, finally, naturally produced vegetables have more nutritional value. So, naturally produced vegetables, more nutritional value. Now, again, so we found the answers here. Maybe we can read just from the line below. So, plants appear no more malleable in this respect. So this demonstrates the vegetables again. So vegetables grown in season and ripened on the tree are far higher in the essential nutrients than those grown in greenhouse and ripened by laser. So I think we have our answers right here. So it says vegetables which are grown naturally are have a far higher essential nutrients, have more nutrients. So the word nutrients, nutritional value. So naturally produced or vegetables which are produced naturally, grown naturally, have more nutrients, more nutritional value. So here, the vegetables which are not produced naturally have less nutritional value. So here, because there is a clear indication that the text and the question has similar ideas or same ideas, we can safely say that the answer is true. So this is how we can find out the answers, or we can identify the answers to true, false, and not given. Now, of course, it is not a necessity that you have to have read the whole passage to get into the passage, but I would advise that you read the passage at least once before getting into the questions. In that case, it will be much more easier for you to locate those answers. Anyways, now let's go on or move on to the next bunch of questions, next set of questions. All right, so question number 8. Now here we move on to the MCQ type of questions. Now, question number 8 says, what did researchers identify as the ideal time to wake up in the morning? So here I have identified two particular key phrases here. One is ideal time and the other is wake up. So let's go back to the passage and find out. Now, because we have already read up till here and we know that the other paragraphs don't really talk about waking up, we can surely read further down. Now, if we can read from this paragraph, it says we don't really find any one of our keywords like waking up or morning or something like that, right? So I think we can safely skip this particular paragraph. Now let's read this one. The average urban resident, for example, rouses, there you go, waking up, rise or rouse, right, at the eye blaring time of 6:04 a.m. We also find timings, so which researchers believe to be far too early. One study found that even rising at 7 a.m. has deleterious effects on our health unless exercise is performed for 30 minutes afterwards. The optimum moment, the best moment of time, has been whittled down to 7:22 a.m. So what is the best time to wake up? It's 7:22 a.m. So here our answer is C, which is 7:22 a.m. That is the ideal time or the optimum time to wake up. Now let's go to question number 9. It says, in order to lose weight, what should we do? So lose weight, as in we can say shedding weight or something like that, right? So we have to keep the paraphrased words in our minds as well, like the synonyms. So because we have found the answers here, we can safely move on downwards. So once you're up and ready to go, what then? If you're trying to shed some, there you go, if you want to shed some extra weight, what do? Dietitians are adamant. What are they adamant on? Never skip breakfast. But we don't really have, or we didn't really have an option about just having breakfast. So let's read on. This disorients our circadian rhythm and puts our body in starvation mode. The recommended course of action is to follow an intense workout in a carbohydrate-rich breakfast. In other way around, the other way around, and weight loss results are not as pronounced. So what is the best thing to do is not to skip breakfast, and the recommended course of action is to follow an intense workout with a carbohydrate rich breakfast. So what's the best course of action in the morning? If you want to lose weight, do intense exercise and then have a carbohydrate rich breakfast. All right, so do we have anything here like that? So we have avoid eating breakfast. No, we should have breakfast. Eat a low carbohydrate breakfast. No, we should have a high carbohydrate rich breakfast. Exercise before breakfast. Yes. And exercise after breakfast. No. So this is the option that we have to go with, which is exercise before breakfast. All right. So we are doing pretty well. Now let's go to the next one, which says which is not mentioned as a way to improve supplement absorption. So here, because the answers are these are a bit too big, we can go through that. We can go through the options if you like. If you don't want to go through them, that is also fine, but if you want, definitely you can go through the topics and you can identify some keywords here as well. So for example, avoiding drinks containing caffeine while taking supplements, taking supplements at breakfast, taking supplements with food that can dissolve them, so supplements with foods that can dissolve them, and sorting supplements in a cool, dry environment, right? So story. Now let's see what kind of answers do we get. Some we need to identify which is not mentioned as a way to improve supplement absorption, right? So now again, because we have already found our answers here, so let's go to the next one. Morning is also a great place for breaking out the vitamins. Supplement absorption by the body is not temporal dependent, but naturopath Pam Stone notes that the extra boost at breakfast helps us get energized for the day ahead. For improved absorption, Stone suggests pairing supplements with food in which they are soluble and steering clear of caffeinated beverages. So steering clear of caffeinated beverages, avoiding caffeine, you have to try to take it within breakfast, and finally Stone wants us to take care of storage. So again, storage, high potency is best for absorption, and warmth and humidity are known to deplete the potency of a supplement. So there we got our 3 points. So avoiding drinks containing caffeine, we have caffeine. Taking supplements and breakfast, we did particularly see that, but we need to look at it again. Taking supplements with food that can dissolve them, and storing supplements with cool and dry environment. Now let's read these two again, and let's see if we can identify them. Now we have confidently we have eliminated these two. Now this is another way in which you can find or identify the answers. This is called the elimination process. So if you're confused about certain answers, so you can safely eliminate those which you are sure that are not the answers. So in this case, I am sure that these two are not the answers. However, I'm still a bit confused about these two particular answers, which one might be true. So even if I'm taking a guess, it's still, you're having a 50-50 chance. You will have a better chance of getting the answer right, rather than having a a quarter of a chance of guessing the answer. So let's go back and read it one more time. So it says, supplement absorption by the body is not temporal dependent, but Stone notes that the extra boost at breakfast helps us get energized for the day. For improved absorption, Stone suggests pairing supplements with food in which they are soluble. Now, I missed the word soluble here. Now, so dissolve, soluble or dissolved. Now, Stone suggests that we should we should take supplements, or we should eat the supplements with food that can dissolve them. So I have this one, I have this one, and I have this one. This is the only option that's missing. So taking supplements at breakfast. Now, you might say that, well, they do mention about breakfast. However, it just simply says that there is an extra boost at breakfast. It doesn't really mention explicitly about taking them at breakfast. They simply say there is an extra boost that you get. Now, it is not a necessity. This particular person doesn't really mention explicitly that you have to take them at breakfast. So we can safely say that B is the answer right here. Now, let's go back to the next question, which is number 11. So the best time to stop drinking coffee is when? Is it mid-afternoon, 10 p.m., only when feeling anxious, and after dinner? So let's go back to the passage and read it. Now, we have found the answer right here, so I think we can go back we can read the paragraph after that. So after dinner, espressos are becoming more of a tradition. We have the Italians to thank for that, but to prepare for a good night's sleep, we are better off putting the brakes on caffeine consumption as early as 3 p.m. With a 7-hour half life, a cup of coffee containing 90 mg of caffeine taken at this hour could still leave 45 mg of caffeine in your nervous system at 10 o'clock in the evening. So it is essential by the time you're ready to sleep, our body is rid of all the traces. So as early as 3 p.m. So let's see which one is the closest to 3 p.m. So here we have mid-afternoon, all right, so pretty close to 3 p.m. Most likely this is the answer, but let's read the other options. So by 10 p.m., no, it's too far. Only when feeling anxious, no, this is not mentioned at all. After dinner, not at all. So this is the only answer that we can get to the most that we kind of like go the closest to, which is 3 p.m. So this is the answer right here. 3 p.m. So number 12. So in the evening, what should we do? What should we do in the evening? So should we stay away from carbohydrates, stop exercising, eat as much as possible, or eat a light meal? Let's go and find out. Evenings are important. Evenings are important for winding down before sleep. However, dietitian warns that an after 5 carbohydrate fast is more cultural myth than a chronobiological demand. This will deprive your body of vital energy needs. Overloading your gut could lead to indigestion, though. Our digestive tracts do not shut down for the night entirely, but the work slows down to a crawl and our bodies prepare for sleep. Consuming a modest snack should be entirely sufficient. So modest snack. So we should not eat too much, or we should not completely starve ourselves. We should have a modest snack. Now let's see if we can find something close to that. So in the evening, stay away from carbohydrates. No, we should not starve ourselves. There is nothing mentioned about exercising. Eat as much as possible. No, on the contrary, we should eat a modest meal, and this is the closest that we can get, which is a light meal. A modest meal, a light meal. So the synonym right there. Which of the following, the final question here, which of the following phrases best describes the main aim of reading passage 1? So here we have to read the kind of the whole passage. We have kind of like read the whole passage, and we need to kind of let's say identify exactly what the writer is trying to tell us about. Now here this can get a bit tricky. Now these kind of questions where you have to read the whole passage and kind of like guess what is the main aim or is the goal. But the easiest way that I find to do this is if you can read the introduction and if you can read the conclusion. However, we do have a conclusion. Well, this you can treat it like a conclusion if you like. However, this doesn't really seem like a good conclusion to me. However, we do have an introduction that we can read, and we can kind of like get an idea exactly what it is about. So let's read our options right here. So to suggest healthier ways of eating, sleeping and exercising. Well, not really. I mean, from the reading of our passage, we have read the whole passage for solving these questions, and we can pretty much take a guess that this is not the answer, because you know, it doesn't really give us suggestions about you know, eating healthier. It just tells us when to eat, when not to eat, or it's just that how much to eat or how little, just as modest way, which is not really a very clear way of mentioning about the healthier ways in details. It's the same for sleeping and exercising as well. It's very brief. Now, to describe how modern life has made chronobiology largely irrelevant, it is neither B, because you see, it doesn't really talk too much about modern life. It just uses the example of modern life once in one paragraph to talk about when people wake up. So it's not really mentioned at all. Second, to introduce chronobiology and describe some practical applications. Now, this is more likely the answer, because in the first paragraph, it talks about chronobiology, what it does, and the following paragraphs, it basically talks about how we can use chronobiology to in our daily lives. Now, all the following subsequent paragraphs after the introduction just talks about practical applications, like when should we wake up, when should we avoid coffee, what type of meal should we have, right? So all of these things. Now, let's read the last one as well. To plan a daily schedule that can alter our natural chronobiological rhythms. Again, this is not really the answer, because you see, there is no particular paragraph which tells you or which says directly that well, this is how you should plan your natural chronobiological rhythm. Neither does it talk about chronobiological rhythms directly, because it says that you know, everyone has different chronobiological rhythms or circadian rhythms, and it is fine, it is benign, although there are variations, but they are benign variations, not harmful. So this is also not the answer. So most likely this is the answer. Now, of course, if you're unsure about it, you can simply go to the passage, you can read the introduction, and you can read the conclusion if there is one. Now, as you can see here, right at the beginning in this paragraph, so it just basically talks about that it is, you know, it's a short-term rhythm and effect on flora and fauna. Now, it doesn't really talk about how it can be held for practical life. How it can be used to change the you know, daily lifestyle or modern lifestyle, the effect and all these things. It just gives us a basic idea how it can affect or how it can help our sorry about that, how it can help or how it can you know, be used in the practical life. So basically that's what it does. So that is the purpose or the main aim of this particular passage. Now, so this is the way that we can work or we can solve true, false, not given and MCQ type of questions for IELTS reading. Now, again, like I said, there are true false not given is considered to be, sometimes it's considered to be a pretty tricky type of questions. Candidates often have quite a lot of difficulties in finding the answers between false and not given. But I hope that this will help you in identifying false and not given, and or overall the MCQs as well. So I hope that this video helps, and yeah, I think all the best, and keep practicing. I hope if you can practice like this, you will get quicker at finding the information and also the answers in a better way, right? So that's it from me today, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.